Hello everyone, and welcome to my General Hospital official channel. I hope everyone is having a wonderful day. Before we begin, please hit the subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up.
The courtroom was filled with tension so thick it felt almost alive, pulsing between every person seated there. The faint hum of whispers echoed across the gallery as people craned their necks, waiting for the next move in Willow Tate Corinthos's trial. She sat at the defense table, her hands trembling slightly as she clutched a folded tissue. Her eyes darted nervously toward Michael, who stood a few feet away, his face pale but determined. Willow could sense something heavy coming, something he'd been hiding, something she was not sure she wanted to hear. But Michael's gaze was steady, almost too steady. The judge's gavel struck once, silencing the restless murmur. "Mr. Corinthos," the judge said sternly. "You may proceed." Michael swallowed hard, his throat tight. "Your Honor," he began, voice unsteady but honest. "There's something I need to say before this trial goes any further. It's about the evidence. It's about the truth, something I should have revealed a long time ago." A ripple of confusion spread through the courtroom. Carly, sitting in the back row, stiffened immediately, clutching her purse against her chest as if she could somehow protect herself from what was about to unfold. "Michael, no," Carly whispered under her breath, her voice cracking with panic. Across the aisle, Nina Reeves's lips curved into a faint, suspicious smirk. She had always believed that the Corinthos family's halo was polished a little too bright. Now, maybe she'd see it tarnish in real time. Willow's attorney leaned toward her, murmuring softly. "Do you know what this is about?" Willow shook her head, her voice a faint whisper. "No. But if Michael's about to do what I think he is, it's something big." Michael took a deep breath. "The night the evidence was collected, the night everything went wrong, I found out something about what happened. And I kept it hidden. I told myself it was to protect Willow, to protect our family. But the truth can't stay buried anymore." Willow's lips parted. "Michael, what are you talking about?" He turned to her, his expression torn between love and guilt. "I'm talking about what happened with the records, Willow. The files that tied you to the case, they weren't just found. They were planted." Gasps erupted across the room. Willow blinked, confusion flooding her face. "Planted? What do you mean, planted by who?" Michael hesitated. His hand tightened into a fist at his side. He didn't want to say it, but the truth was clawing at him, demanding release. "I know who framed you," Michael said finally, his voice breaking. "And I kept it secret because it would destroy everything. But I can't do that anymore." The prosecutor rose sharply. "Your Honor, this is highly irregular." The judge raised a hand. "Mr. Corinthos, if you have relevant evidence, the court will hear it. But be advised, what you say next will be on the record." Michael nodded. "I understand." He turned, his gaze sweeping across the courtroom, landing finally on a familiar face that had gone pale, so pale that it almost looked ghostly. "It was my father," Michael said quietly. "Sonny Corinthos." The room exploded in gasps and shocked murmurs. Reporters scribbled furiously, flashbulbs went off in the back row. Carly stood up, her face ashen. "Michael! Stop!" Carly shouted, ignoring the bailiff's warning glare. "You don't know what you're saying." But Michael's voice rose above hers. "Yes, I do, Mom. I've known for weeks. Dad had one of his men interfere with the evidence to protect Willow, and to protect me. He made it look like Willow falsified medical records to save Nina from exposure." Nina's jaw dropped, her smirk vanishing. "Wait, what? Are you saying Sonny was covering for me?" Michael shook his head bitterly. "No, Nina. He was covering for himself. Because if the truth about what really happened came out, it would have destroyed both of you." Willow stared at him, her body trembling. "Michael, why didn't you tell me this sooner?" Tears welled in his eyes. "Because I thought I could fix it. I thought I could protect you, Willow. I didn't want you dragged through this mess. But keeping quiet made it worse. The judge called for order, banging the gavel repeatedly. But the room was chaos, emotionally charged, electric. Carly made her way forward, desperation etched on every line of her face. "Michael, please, don't do this. You're going to blow up everything Sonny's built. Everything our family's survived." Michael turned to her, his voice low but firm. "Our family's survived a lot, Mom. But not at the cost of truth. Not this time." Willow's eyes shimmered with tears. "You mean, all this time, I was blamed for something your father did?" Michael's silence was answer enough. Willow's voice cracked. "And you let me think it was my fault?" He took a hesitant step toward her. "I didn't mean to hurt you. I swear, I thought I was protecting you. I thought if I found proof Sonny's interference could be erased quietly." "Quietly?" Willow interrupted, her voice trembling with anger. "Michael, you lied to me. You let me stand here on trial, thinking I'd done something wrong. Do you know what that feels like?" Michael's shoulders slumped, guilt consuming him. "Every night, I think about it. Every single night." Nina rose from her seat, looking shaken but defiant. "So, Sonny tampered with the evidence, huh? Well, congratulations, Michael. You just exposed your father in federal court. Do you have any idea what that means?" Michael turned to her. "Yeah, Nina. It means you're not the only one who destroys people in the name of love." The judge sighed heavily, clearly trying to regain control. "Mr. Corinthos, if you have documentation or testimony to back this up, it will need to be entered into evidence." Michael nodded and handed over a sealed envelope. "It's all here. The surveillance footage, the call logs, the bank transactions." Sonny paid one of his men, Dex Heller, to remove the original documents and replace them with forged ones. Willow gasped. "Dex?" Michael looked away. "He didn't want to do it. He tried to warn me. But by the time I found out, the damage was already done." The judge took the envelope from the bailiff, flipping through the contents. The air in the courtroom seemed to freeze. This changes everything," the judge murmured. Carly's hand flew to her mouth. She couldn't believe what was happening. "Oh my God. Sonny's going to lose everything." Nina leaned back in her chair, stunned into silence. Even she didn't expect this kind of bombshell. Willow's attorney stood, her voice sharp. "Your Honor, based on this new evidence, we request an immediate suspension of proceedings and a full review of the chain of custody on the original case files." The judge nodded slowly. "Granted. Court will recess until further notice." The gavel struck again, signaling a temporary end, but everyone knew this was just the beginning. As the courtroom emptied, Willow remained seated, staring down at the table. Michael approached her cautiously. "Willow," he whispered. "Please, say something." She didn't look up. Her voice was quiet, almost too calm. "I can't even process this right now. You lied to me, Michael. You stood beside me every day, pretending everything was okay." "I was scared," he said softly. "I didn't want to lose you." "You might have lost me anyway," Willow whispered, her voice cracking. "Because love built on lies can't survive, no matter how much you think you're protecting someone." Michael's heart shattered at her words. "Please, don't say that. I did it because I love you." Willow finally turned to him, tears glistening in her eyes. "Then next time, love me enough to tell me the truth." Across the room, Carly watched them, tears streaming down her own face. She could see the pain in her son's eyes, the heartbreak of a man who'd tried to do right and only made everything worse. Behind her, Nina quietly slipped out of the courtroom, her expression unreadable. But inside, her mind was spinning. If Sonny had really tampered with evidence, what did that mean for her? For the man she thought she could trust? Later that evening, at the Corinthos compound, the confrontation everyone dreaded finally happened. Sonny sat at the bar, a glass of bourbon untouched in front of him. He didn't look up when Michael entered. You went through with it, Sunny said quietly. You told the court. Michael's jaw tightened. I had to. You left me no choice. Sunny's voice was low, controlled. You think you did the right thing, huh? You think the truth's going to set you free? Michael's anger bubbled up. I think the truth is the only thing that matters. You interfered with a federal case, Dad. You made Willow look guilty just to protect me. Sunny slammed his glass down, eyes flashing. I did it to protect my family. You think I'd stand by and watch the mother of your kids go to prison? You think I'd let you lose everything? Michael shook his head. You already made me lose everything. Willow can't even look at me right now. She's broken. And I can't fix that. Sunny's voice softened, just a fraction. You think I don't know what it's like to lose someone you love because of a bad choice? I've lived that my whole life. I thought maybe this time I could change that outcome. Michael exhaled shakily. You don't change it by lying. You just make it worse. For a long moment, neither man spoke. The silence between them was heavier than any words could be. Finally, Sunny said, You did what you thought was right. So did I. Maybe one day, we'll both understand each other. Michael's eyes filled with tears. Maybe. But not today. He turned and walked out, leaving Sunny alone with his guilt and the weight of his choices. Meanwhile, Willow sat in her hospital room later that night, staring at the city lights through the window. She felt hollow, torn between love, betrayal, and relief. The truth had finally come out, but at what cost? When the door opened quietly behind her, she didn't need to turn around to know it was Michael. I didn't think you'd come, she said softly. I had to, he murmured, stepping closer. I needed to tell you that no matter what happens next, I'll be here. I'll fight for you. For us. Willow turned to face him, her eyes filled with sadness. You already fought, Michael. But maybe now, it's time to stop fighting and start healing. He nodded, knowing she was right, but unsure if healing was even possible. Outside, the night was still, but inside the world of Port Charles, nothing would ever be the same. The fallout from Michael's confession would ripple through every corner of town, destroying alliances, exposing secrets, and rewriting the future for the Corinthos family forever. And as Willow watched Michael leave her room that night, one thought echoed in her mind: truth had finally come out, but sometimes, the truth was the most painful kind of love there was. The air in Port Charles hangs thick with unspoken truths and the heavy scent of impending revelation. It is a town built on secrets, a precarious house of cards where a single whisper can topple empires, shatter families, and rewrite history. For months, if not years, the citizens of this turbulent city have been orbiting a central, dark mystery: the fate of Nina Reeves's biological daughter. The search, fraught with dead ends and manipulated clues, seemed to have reached its tragic conclusion with the belief that the child was lost forever. But in Port Charles, the dead rarely stay buried, and the past is a persistent ghost. The truth, as it always does, has been festering beneath the surface, and its eruption is now imminent. The catalyst for this seismic event? The upcoming custody trial for Willow Tate's son, a legal battle that is poised to become the stage for the most shocking confession in recent memory. And at the center of the maelstrom stands Michael Courtroom, a man pushed to his absolute limit, ready to tear down the walls of deception with a truth so profound it will irrevocably redefine every relationship it touches. The genesis of this impending storm lies in a labyrinth of lies, well-intentioned and malicious alike. Willow Tate, now fighting for her life and her child, is the living, breathing heart of this mystery, though she remains tragically unaware. Her quest to find her biological parents was a journey marked by pain and rejection, culminating in the devastating belief that her mother had died. This was a narrative carefully, and with monstrous cruelty, constructed. The architect of this pain was none other than Dr. Liesel Albrecht, acting out of a twisted sense of loyalty to her daughter, Britt. The target of this deception was Nina Reeves, a woman who has endured the unimaginable agony of losing a child, only to be systematically denied the knowledge that her daughter lived. For years, Nina's grief was a defining characteristic, a raw wound that never healed. Her subsequent actions, including her affair with Valentine Cassadine under the belief that her child was his, were driven by this profound loss. The revelation that her daughter with Silas Clay had lived only to be stolen from her through Liesl's machinations was a betrayal of unspeakable magnitude. Yet, the full scope of the truth remained obscured. Nina knew she had a daughter, but the identity of that daughter was the final, locked door. Willow, meanwhile, navigated her own sea of troubles, from her relationship with the troubled Shiloh to her eventual, deep love for Michael Courtroom. Her life and Nina's ran on parallel tracks, close enough to feel the vibration of the other's passage, but never intersecting in the way they were always destined to. The intersection, when it came, was not one of recognition but of conflict. Nina, as the owner of the Invader, became a thorn in the side of the Courtroom Corinthos empire, a constant critic of Carly and Michael. This professional animosity bled into the personal, creating a chasm of resentment between Nina and Willow, who by then was married to Michael and embraced by Carly as a daughter. The irony is almost Shakespearean. The grandmother of Willow's child, the woman Willow views as a mother figure, is the very woman her biological mother despises. And the man she loves, Michael, is locked in a bitter corporate and personal war with the woman who gave her life. This is the tangled web into which the truth must now crash, like a wrecking ball. The immediate pressure forcing Michael's hand is Willow's deteriorating health. Her battle with leukemia is a fight she cannot win alone. She requires a bone marrow transplant, and the most likely matches are biological relatives. This medical crisis ripped open the sealed file of her parentage, leading to the staggering discovery that Nina Reeves was, in fact, her mother. This knowledge, however, became a new secret, a weapon and a burden held by a select few. Michael, Carly, and Sonny Corinthos were let in on the truth, while Willow and Nina remained in the dark. The decision to withhold this information was born from a toxic cocktail of motives, a desire to protect Willow from the emotional shock while she was so physically vulnerable, and a deep-seated, venomous hatred for Nina, whom they viewed as unworthy of the title of mother. This choice, though framed as protection, was a profound act of arrogance. Michael and Carly appointed themselves the arbiters of truth, deciding that their judgment of Nina's character outweighed Willow's right to know her own identity and Nina's right to know her child. They created a prison of silence, and in doing so, they committed a betrayal against Willow that is, in its own way, as devastating as Liesl's original sin. They allowed Willow to believe she was alone in the world, without blood relatives who could save her, all while knowing her mother was just across town. The justification was Willow's fragile state, but the unspoken reason was always their contempt for Nina. They feared that bringing Nina into their lives would be in contamination, a disruption of the family order they had built. This fragile house of cards began to tremble when Sonny Corinthos, returned from the dead and grappling with his own fractured morality, developed a complicated connection with Nina. Their shared experience in Nixon Falls created a bond that existed outside the entrenched hatred of the Courtroom Corinthos clan. Sonny, from his unique vantage point, began to see the cruelty of the secret. He understood the sanctity of a parent's love for a child, having lost and regained his own children so many times. He started to apply pressure on Michael and Carly to come clean, arguing that the truth was a ticking time bomb that would ultimately cause more damage the longer it was concealed. This created a schism within the family, pitting Sonny's burgeoning empathy and his own complicated history with secrets against Michael's rigid, black-and-white worldview and Carly's visceral animosity. The situation escalated from a private moral dilemma to a public legal firestorm with the initiation of custody proceedings for Willow's baby. The petition was filed by none other than Drew Kane, a man whose own history is a tapestry of loss and manipulation. His motivations are complex, woven from threads of genuine concern for Willow, a deep-seated loyalty to Carly, and a personal vendetta against Nina, whom he blames for his incarceration. The custody case is, on its surface, about the welfare of a child. But in the court of Port Charles, no case is ever just about what it seems. It is a proxy war, a battlefield upon which generations of grudges and secrets will be fought. It is within this pressurized crucible, the failing health of his wife, the vicious custody battle for his son, the internal family conflict, and the ever-present, gnawing guilt of the secret he keeps, that Michael Courtroom reaches his breaking point. He is a man who has built his identity on a foundation of control. After the trauma of his childhood, being kidnapped by his own father, and the various power struggles he has endured, Michael's entire adult life has been an effort to impose order on the chaos. He manages the family business with a cool head, he makes strategic decisions, and he believes in facing problems head-on. But the secret of Willow's parentage is a chaos he cannot control. It is a corrosive agent eating away at his marriage, his integrity, and his soul. Every time he looks at Willow, he sees his deception. Every time she expresses fear about her illness or her family, he feels the weight of his lie. The upcoming trial is the anvil upon which his world will be shattered. He sees the legal strategy unfolding. He knows that Drew's lawyers will paint Nina as an unstable, manipulative force, unfit to be anywhere near a child. He knows that to win, they will have to systematically destroy Nina's character, reinforcing the very narrative that he and Carly have used to justify their silence. But Michael is beginning to understand a terrifying truth. Winning the custody battle by leveraging this secret could mean losing his wife forever. The shock of discovering her parentage in a public courtroom, weaponized against the woman who is her mother, could destroy Willow. The betrayal would be too immense, the cruelty too calculated. Therefore, Michael makes a choice. It is not a calm, calculated decision, but one born of desperation, love, and a final, furious rejection of the web of lies he helped spin. He decides that he will no longer be a prisoner of Carly's grudge or his own fear. He will bring the truth into the light himself, on his own terms, in the most dramatic forum possible, the witness stand during Willow's custody trial. The scene is almost too explosive to imagine. The courtroom is packed. The air is electric with tension. On one side sits Drew, earnest and determined, believing he is fighting for justice. Beside him, Carly, her face a mask of steely resolve, ready to see Nina vanquished once and for all. On the other side, Nina, isolated and defensive, facing a system she believes is rigged against her. And in the gallery, Sonny, a look of grim understanding on his face, knowing that the storm he predicted is about to make landfall. Willow, pale and frail but radiating a fierce maternal love, watches her husband take the stand. The preliminary questions are routine. Michael speaks about his love for Willow, his dedication to his son, the stability of their home. Then, as Drew's attorney or perhaps the judge himself begins to question the unstable influence of Nina Reeves, the atmosphere shifts. Michael's demeanor changes. The controlled, corporate air facade cracks, revealing the raw, emotional man beneath. He may begin by challenging the line of questioning, his voice low but firm. This line of inquiry is based on a fundamental falsehood, he might say. Or perhaps he will simply break, the words tearing from him in a torrent of long-suppressed guilt and anguish. The revelation will not be a gentle one. It will be a detonation. Nina Reeves is not an unstable influence seeking to disrupt my family, he will declare, his voice echoing in the stunned silence of the courtroom. Nina Reeves is family. She is Willow's biological mother. In that single, breathtaking moment, time will stand still. The shockwave will radiate outward, visible on every face in the room. The court reporter's fingers will freeze. The judge will lean forward, disbelief etched on his features. Drew will stare, his case evaporating in an instant. Carly will look as if she has been physically struck, her carefully constructed world imploding as her son, her own son, becomes the instrument of its destruction. Her expression will be a horrifying mosaic of betrayal, fury, and sheer panic. But the most profound reactions will belong to the two women at the heart of this drama. Nina Reeves will likely experience a moment of utter cognitive dissolution. The words will hang in the air, incomprehensible. Then, as they sink in, a lifetime of grief, loss, and searching will collide with this impossible, miraculous reality. The woman she has been at odds with, the daughter of her nemesis, the young mother she has watched from afar with a strange, unplaceable sense of connection, that woman is her child. The child she mourned, the child she believed was stolen from her forever, has been here all along. The emotional tsunami will be overwhelming, a violent surge of joy, rage at the deception, heartbreaking grief for the lost years, and a primal, protective instinct towards Willow. Her world, in an instant, is both miraculously whole and shattered into a million new, sharp-edged pieces. For Willow, the impact will be equally catastrophic, but in a different key. The initial shock will be physical, a visceral blow. Then will come the slow, dawning horror of the betrayal. Her mind will race, connecting 1,000 disparate dots. The conversations, the whispers, the strange protectiveness, the arguments between Michael and Sunny. It will all click into a devastating new picture. The man she loves, the woman she sees as a mother, they knew. They knew while she was sick, while she was scared, while she felt utterly alone in the world. They knew her mother was alive, and they chose to let her suffer. They denied her the chance to know her own mother, and they denied her a potential life-saving donor out of pure spite. The foundation of her entire reality, her trust in Michael, her relationship with Carly, her understanding of her own identity, will crumble to dust in that courtroom. The fight for her son will suddenly feel secondary to the fight for her own sanity and the rubble of her marriage. The fallout from Michael's confession will be immediate and far-reaching, rippling out to touch every corner of Port Charles. The custody trial itself will be thrown into chaos. Drew's entire case, predicated on Nina being a malicious outsider, is instantly obliterated. How can he argue that a grandmother has no right to be near her grandchild when that grandmother is the biological mother of the child's mother? The judge would have no choice but to pause proceedings, as the fundamental facts of the case have been radically altered. Drew will be left reeling, his sense of justice perverted, his actions potentially exposed as part of a cruel and unethical conspiracy to keep a mother and daughter apart. The Courtroom Corinthos family will be fractured, possibly beyond repair. The bond between Michael and Carly, once the bedrock of the family, will be shattered. Carly will view Michael's actions as the ultimate betrayal, a unilateral surrender to the woman she despises most in the world. She will be consumed by a rage born of fear of losing her position as Willow's mother, fear of Nina's influence, and the terrifying fear that her own manipulative actions have been exposed for all to see. She will likely lash out at Michael with a venom she has previously reserved for her greatest enemies, accusing him of weakness, of betraying his family, of destroying everything they have built. Her relationship with Sunny will also be irrevocably damaged. Sunny, who advocated for the truth, will be vindicated in the most painful way possible. He will have to grapple with the consequences of his stance, watching his family tear itself apart. The tension between his Mike persona's morality and the brutal realities of his Port Charles life will reach a fever pitch. His connection to Nina, already a point of contention, will now be a gaping wound in his relationship with Carly and Michael.